What's going on, everyone? Good morning. Welcome on into Coffee with Brodes. What's happening? How are you today? We are kind of going to bounce around a little bit. Now we got the NBA playoffs without the 76ers, so it's a little bit brutal, but that doesn't stop us from watching great action last night. The Phoenix Suns. Jesus, Mikal Bridges with a wide open look, but he just missed. And DeAndre Ayton with that beautiful play. And by the way, Monty Williams credited Brett Brown, saying, I got that play from Brett Brown. Great week for the Brett Brown crowd. Oh, man, but that was a really fun game. What's his name? Paul George. You ever hear of him? He missed a couple free throws at the end, which was damaging, even though he was going bucket for bucket and scoring big ones with Devin Booker. He came up just shy. So how about that? We also had the Phillies and Max Scherzer taking off his pants. There was a lot on the table last night, but look, you know where we begin on this Wednesday? We start with a nice cup of coffee. And today we're drinking a little Wawa regular with a little French vanilla, just a little dab. Just a little dab, a little tiny, how do you do? A little French vanilla creamer. And that's where we begin. Oh, it hits the spot, damn it. It hits the spot. It hits the spot. Okay, let's kick this bad boy off with you in the chat. Thank you all so much for being here. And Arms Eber says, how about the Canadians? Yep, the Canadians, they are kicking Vegas's ass right now. They're up 3-2 in the series. I guess that's a little strong to say kicking their ass, but Cole Caulfield, a Flyers player, possibly. But no. Let's not draft Cole Caulfield. And my man is just tearing up the NHL playoffs and tearing up the Canadians, and the Flyers did not draft him. Mara Petition says, we all know Maury and Glenn being choice with their words to try and salvage value. It's even more of a chess match than Girardi trying to undress Max Scherzer. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. In terms of what they said yesterday, or I should say Daryl Morey specifically, he gave you basically what you thought he was going to give you. I mean, if you expected anything different than, Howard Eskin tried to ask a question, and basically he said, thank you so much for explaining what the job of a general manager is, which is I'm going to try my best to make this a better basketball team. If I can make a trade that can make this team better, I will make that trade. If I can do something that will make this organization a better organization, I will do that. So thank you very much for explaining what that is. It's like no one expected him to just say, you know what, we're going to trade Ben Simmons. We're going to trade Ben. Blue City Empire Sports. And that's why the New York Yankees fired Girardi. I thank you for giving us the World Series and beating the Phillies. His attitude and personality was way too streaky and unbalanced. See, the thing is, the Phillies are where they are right now, under 500 by 2 games, not because of Joe Girardi. There's too much blame that goes on a manager. Just like I'm sure with the Yankees, you're saying that's why my Yankees fired him. You probably want Boone fired. You probably want the next guy to come in and you want him to be fired in a year. Where the problem is Gary Sanchez. Where the problem is maybe not being the best defensive team. Where the problem is the pitching in some aspects for the Yankees after Garrett Cole. That's your problem, not Boone. But, I mean, in baseball, it's even worse than the NBA when it comes to impact of head coach / manager. But, that's where people go with it because it's the easy way out. It's the scapegoat. It's the number one problem. No, the number one problem is clearly the players on the field for the Phillies because with Gabe Kapler, Matt Klentak, Andy McPhail, which are all losers, even though Andy McPhail had a championship back when I was -5. Well, now you have Dave Dombrowski and Joe Girardi, 2 winners, and they look just as bad as when they had losers in the front office. So, I mean, it's very telling. It's very, very telling. Cheers, Brodes. We need a coffee with Brodes funeral edition. Jeez. Of the Sixers season. We kind of did that, though. We're still in the process of it. I mean, we're 2 days removed. It's still the same week. It's Wednesday when they lost Game 7 on Sunday night. So we basically are going through that. We're moving on to baseball playoffs. So we kind of did have our funeral, though, right? I mean, we talk about them every day, basically, at this point. All this pitching crap because of the pitcher on the West Coast for calling out Tatis a while back. What? No, this is what? This goes way farther back than anything. This is Trevor Bauer back from 2015, 2016, going through old tweets. If you go through old tweets, John Boy Media had the best breakdown of it. This has been going on for years and years and years. And now these pitchers are using spider tack and their spin rate on their pitches. You talk about why there's so many strikeouts in baseball. It's because of what the foreign substances these pitchers were using prior to this whole debacle. The problem is just the poor execution of it, how they went about it, that whole concept, more so than more so than it actually coming into play. It's not giving the pitchers warning, not giving the pitchers anything to kind of work with, and making them quit cold turkey and this and that. And it's the spider tack's not the problem. It's the sunscreen and that's the problem, that they can't use it. But I'm saying in terms of now they have nothing to use. They could have been using sunscreen and rosin and a combination of that just to have a little bit of something on their hands to keep the ball in play. But it's just turned into a nightmare. Oh, no. We can't be doing this. We can't be doing this. Gabe Kapler comes in and says, imagine firing the manager with the best record in baseball. But I'll go back to this. People put too much stock in managers when they win, and they put way too much stock into managers when they lose. The Giants are winning baseball games because the Giants are playing good baseball, because you're getting phenomenal pitching out of players that you didn't really expect to get phenomenal pitching out of, at least not to this level. All right, they're supporting cast are supporting very well. People put way too much stock in what Gabe Kapler's doing, just like they put way too much stock, and I will admit, here in Philadelphia when the Phillies were failing. It's just reality of the situation. Why are the Giants doing well? It's not Gabe Kapler. Gabe Kapler is not making the pitchers pitch. He's not making the hitters hit. I mean, it's just reality of the situation. Philly should fire Joe. Okay, so now we're firing Joe Girardi just after he got here. Yeah, let's make this organization even worse than it already is by now moving on to our third manager within how many years? That would be the end of Gabe Kapler. What, 2 years of Joe Girardi, and then this. And by the way, has Joe Girardi how many games in are they at this point? I guess they're 70 games. How many games in? The Philadelphia Phillies are 34-36. That puts them at 70 games. Last year, they played 60 games. So that's 150 games. That's not even one full season. Joe Girardi has not been here for one full season yet, and we're already screaming to fire him. That's where we're at. I mean, that's where the fans are. He has not managed one full season yet. And now we are at the point where it's fire Joe Girardi. Joe Girardi's bad. And then what happens? Rhys Hoskins is going to make a mistake because he can't defend at first base with the next manager. Alec Boehm's going to be miserable at third base with the next manager. You're going to have all sorts of mistakes. You're not going to be able to hit with runners in scoring position with the next manager. And then what? Then we fire that manager too? Is that really what we're going to do? Just nonstop change the manager over and over and over again? How about this? Get better players. Well, the problem is you tried to buy them all because your prospects are embarrassing. And then now you're pretty much at that luxury tax where you're not going to go over it to just be a 500 baseball team. So you're basically stuck because your prospects are garbage, because your system is terrible, and you don't have any way to grow and groom and get cheaper talent that players can play on. And it just becomes one big brutal one. Nick says, don't understand why people are under this idea that Ben Simmons' position change is the answer. It's absolutely not the answer. If he plays 4, now you have a stretch 4 next to Joel Embiid who can't shoot a basketball. Where is he going to go? If you take the ball out of Ben Simmons' hands, what is he going to do? Because he can't shoot. He can't do anything off the ball. We watched him sit in the dunker spot. So now he's really going to do nothing. You're limiting him in transition, which you don't get transition buckets much anyway in the postseason. It's way more limited in the postseason than it is in the regular season. And now all of a sudden, he's going to stand behind below and do nothing. He can't play the 4. You cannot be a 4 in the NBA in 2021 and be a successful one next to Joel Embiid and not be able to shoot. There's no such thing as changing positions and Ben Simmons playing this way and being a player in this league. He doesn't work. Anyone believing that he can change is just naive to it, and they're living up this false hope. Somebody tweeted at me today and said, thank God you're not the Sixers general manager because we have ourselves Draymond Green. And it's like, what are you looking at, dude? Like, how drunk are you? Glad you're not the GM, exclamation point. Draymond Green is very similar to Ben, and he's a future Hall of Famer. Well, I mean, first off, Jesus Christ, I hope you have eyeballs. And second off, I told you about this piece that Mike O'Connor put out there on Twitter, who is, he was the Sixers writer for The Athletic, and now it's for the Rights to Ricky Sanchez pod. And he basically said there is no correlation between Draymond Green and Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons does not impact a game when it's all said and done, while Draymond Green in the fourth quarter is a factor. He's an energy force. He's a dog. He changes the game. Ben Simmons does not do any of that. I'm trying to find it exactly. Oh, here it is. We talk a lot about whether Ben is a point guard or a Draymond Green type, but in crunch time, he's neither. He's just a dude who stands in the dunker spot. Draymond isn't a point guard, but he makes a huge impact in crunch time, calling the plays, directing traffic, injecting energy, while Ben Simmons is just a ghost. Then he responds to that and says, we can talk a lot about Doc or Joe or Tobias late in games, but this is the type of game situation is exactly where point guards and primary initiators settle things down and rally the troops. Ben not being able to do anything of this sort is all the proof you need to know. He is not that guy. I mean, it's not really that hard to see. I thought that was almost basic knowledge, but for some, I guess it isn't. I guess for some, there is an element of, I have no idea what I'm watching. I guess that is the case. Sean says, Hunter, Girardi has requested that they check your clothing for the illegal substance. Your thoughts? Does that mean I have to start taking off my clothes? Because if that's the case, I think we're in a little bit of trouble here due to YouTube guidelines. I don't want to get myself in trouble. 200 yen comes in from mullet petition for Alvarado. SUNS waited a week, kept sunning. Don't see them losing. Well, the Clippers have gone down 0-2 in many, many series now. I also thought to some degree, while everyone's like, wow, they're so amazing, they keep coming back when they're down, they're also falling down for a reason. And at some point, we're talking about the NBA playoffs. At some point, you're going to be going up against an opponent where you're not going to have the luxury to be able to fight back against a team when you're down 0-2. Like, it's going to be brutal, it's going to be hard, and you're going to dig yourself in such a hole that it's very hard to come back from. So there is an element of that where, it's great that you can do it in the first round. It's great that you can do it in the second round. At some point, you're not going to be able to consistently try and fight back down 0-2. And, that's heartbreaking because with 0.8 seconds, 0.9 seconds, whatever it was when DeAndre Ayton threw the ball down, you thought you had that victory. But what a damn play. Credit to Brett Brown for coming up with a play design for Monty Williams to utilize in a playoff game. Credit to Brett Brown. How about that? He deserves the credit. X-Ray says, we need to celebrate Ben. LOL. Are you making fun of Doc Rivers for him saying to us that we need to celebrate him more? Or do you actually mean that, X-Ray? Because there are still some Ben stands out there that truly believe that. So I don't know. Brett didn't do anything like that. That is false. There's actually a play going around town where Brett Brown did draw up a play like that. It did work, and the Sixers did score a bucket. I believe, let me check if it was Anthony Gargano who retweeted it. Yes, he did. It was Anthony Gargano. 1.3 seconds left on the clock. Out of bounds play from the sideline right in front of the bench. And was that Rashawn Holmes? Rashawn Holmes puts it in. No, Robert Covington. Robert Covington scores the bucket with 1.1 second left on the clock. So, just to say, once again, Brett never did anything like that. People have selective thinking and selective memory when it comes to Brett Brown. Just Call Me Flair says Brett Brown got to be Brodes' grandfather or something. Nope. No, he's not. Brett Brown has to be behind the camera. Nope, that is not true. It's just the fact that no one remember. It's like people are so outrageous when it comes to individuals that they do not like, where they can't separate the good things that they do from the bad things that they do. Even as much as I hate Ben, I can do that. But at this point, we've reached a level where there's no return. With Brett Brown, there were people who screamed for 5 years that he knew nothing. That's just not true. That's not true. So I'm trying to just inform the uneducated that there were good things that he did. Everything he did not suck. And it was just too raw, too emotional saying that he did absolutely nothing when it just wasn't the case. And all I do is consistently prove them wrong with a lot of facts, with a lot of real information to, justify what I'm saying here with that. Matt Klentak says, what are some of the good things I did? Leave the organization to go work the ice cream stand. 200 yen comes in. Funny, Trey moving on. Not rooting against the kid. Yeah, I mean, he's got a killer mentality. I just can't imagine this Atlanta Hawks winning against the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the Bucks handled them pretty easily. But, look, we've been saying that, I guess, a couple times now for the Atlanta Hawks, and they continue to fight. And I'll go back to this. As great as Giannis was in Game 7, going back and forth against Kevin Durant and basically beating KD in those moments, although, the Milwaukee Bucks actually had a team while the Brooklyn Nets basically had zero team, and it was just Kevin Durant trying to do it on his own because Kyrie Irving wasn't there and James Harden was clearly banged up and playing on one hamstring. So there was a lot in play there for that. Giannis doesn't shoot a basketball, and that's going to, at some point, be a problem. Might be able to get through this team, because it's a lot different than the non-shooting of Ben Simmons. But, there's that downfall. But the lane has opened up for the Milwaukee Bucks to get through to the NBA Finals with taking down the Atlanta stinking Hawks. It's pretty damn crazy. It really is. Nathan says that Ben is a joke. For the record, Simmons made 16, 17 free throws versus the Jazz this season without Embiid on the floor. Every year he's gotten worse, especially when it counts. Ben sucks. Yeah, I mean, Ben Simmons shrinks in the bigger moments. There's no denying that. And that's because, his game is all about playing a style where the floor is wide open. He's an open court player. The NBA playoffs is the exact opposite of the open court. So everything he excels at, everything that he succeeds in, is everything that isn't playoff basketball. When you start playing a good teams, when you start playing talented teams, when the game starts slowing down, when it's possession by possession, that's when he gets way too overwhelmed and there's too much pressure involved because he doesn't play that version of basketball. And if that's not the version of basketball that you're built for, then what the hell are you built for? You're built for the regular season, and you're not a NBA playoff caliber type of player. And how are you supposed to be a point guard, a floor general, a guy that is supposed to calm everything down and have a calming presence when those moments get too big for you? It can't be a thing. It just cannot be a thing. I don't like any of these second-tier trade ideas. It may be more likely that Tobias is traded. Why would he get you talent? If Ben Simmons can't get you talent, Tobias Harris is not going to get you talent. Now, everyone's talking about like the stock, right? And how much you can get for him possibly. You're going to be able to get a trade for him. That's inevitable. People will be willing to take an option or a chance on Ben Simmons. The whole, I don't want the second tier thing. That's where Ben is, though. Like this whole narrative that you're like, he's not in James Harden's camp anymore, the tier. He's not in that tier anymore of the elite of the elite. He played himself out of that tier. So it's like, well, I don't want second tier. Well, that's where Ben is. That is Ben Simmons. Now, he can still get you something. It's not like second tier is bad. It's not like some of these ideas are bad that you can get. You're still going to get value. You're still going to get something significant. You're not getting garbage. You're just not at the point where you can get James Harden anymore. And there's nothing you can do about that. You can't wait and hold on to him for him to be that value again. He's not going to be that value because he's never going to shine in the playoffs, and he's always going to be a problem in those moments here. So with that, you're never going to wait to get his stock that high again. You lost that. Now, with that being said, second tier and draft picks and all, like, you're still going to get something significant that can tremendously help out this franchise to the point where you better think about it. And I don't know why you would think Tobias would get you some sort of value and Ben Simmons won't. Tobias ain't getting you anything. Ain't getting anything for Tobias. Ben at least has that wishful thinking tied to his name, tied to his body frame, tied to his ceiling on what he can be. There's a big difference. I really do believe the thing that Stephen A. Smith said about Ben getting baby. This is from Nick. Oh, I agree. Oh, no doubt. He didn't just say that. I don't think he just randomly read off a text message. And that's nothing new. I mean, that storyline has been going on for years. I mean, we're talking about when Brett Brown was here and, they talked about his family, the way the family treated him, the father, the brother with the shooting and the way that they were treating him and the way that he was being handled. And then you see the way he's coddled by Doc Rivers. I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years. This is just more confirmation than it is a breaking news story or anything that's brand new to some of us that have been following the Ben Simmons drama for years and years. I mean, this is part of it. This is all part of the Ben Simmons experience. Yes, he's been babied for a long time. So who's going to want Ben? I mean, it comes down to, as much as, you want to say that he has zero value, it's the theory of he's young and his skill set and what he does well. And there's organizations out there that aren't big markets that would be willing to have a Ben Simmons, that would be willing to have that type of jersey sales and have someone who's very big on the outside of just the United States and be more of a global star. I mean, his name pops. He's a big name player. So, I mean, there's always going to be that what if factor. What if he changes? What if he does this? And, not here, though. Not here. I'm done with that. I'm just saying that question and that storyline behind Ben Simmons is always going to have the needle moving towards maybe he can change. Maybe we can try. Maybe it can work here. He falls in the category of young with a high ceiling. So if you're young with a high ceiling, you're always going to be a player that a team might be interested in. Nathan can't remember seeing a collapse like that in a long time. He's mentally shot. Oh, no doubt. Oh, no doubt. It is that bad. It is that bad. He's 24, 6'10", and got the ball on a string. Teams like OKC, Houston would love him. Yeah, you can try it in another market for sure, just not here in Philadelphia. And I do know that there's a bit of me that believes he's coming back because Daryl is not just going to, toss him away. But then, you're also here, and I saw Kevin McCormick tweet this out, and he covers the Sixers for 97.3 ESPN and Sports Illustrated. He does a good job, very good job. And he tweeted out about, I think who said it? Maybe it was Brian Windhorst said it on ESPN. Yeah, here's the tweet. Brian Windhorst on ESPN today said that Ben Simmons still has value, and if the Sixers decided to gauge him in the market, there would be, quote, more than a dozen, end quote, offers for him. So, and that's not surprising. Now, what type of offers is a big part of this? Is it just slop? Is it real? Is it not real? Things of that nature, I mean, is it something worthy? Is it something not worthy? I guess I should say. Not is it real or not real? Of course, they're real offers, but it'll be interesting. But yeah, I think Daryl Morey has to throw him out there, see what comes available. There's going to have to be something that would be intriguing enough. If there's going to be quote, more than a dozen teams. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be something that moves the needle and gives him a little bit of a thought. And you have to move on from that point because there's no way you can sit here with this fool on your team again and then go through another season of this no real point guard basketball play. It doesn't work. Connor, listen to my video last night. The John Wall in the first for Ben doable. Would you do that if you can grab Suggs? Yeah, see, that's what I was saying. So basically, I was saying with the way it all shapes out, if you had to eat John Wall's money and you got a pick that got you Suggs from maybe, let's say, Houston, and that's what you got for Ben Simmons. So you eat John Wall's contract. It keeps you competitive, even though he's not very good. And he ended up, getting that Achilles injury, which basically ruined him. And he's got a lot of money tied on the books. We're talking in the 40 millions. But basically, you wouldn't be doing it because of John Wall. That's just the money that you eat, and he would at least be serviceable. But it's for drafting a player like Suggs, who can then become a player with the ball in his hand, and he'd be a nice, versatile guard for you that can do a little bit of everything. Suggs is the player from Gonzaga, of course. If you're unfamiliar with college basketball, the dude's a stud. The kid is going to be a star in this league. And then maybe you can utilize, that as your compensation for Ben Simmons. And I think that would move the needle for me. Absolutely. I think that would be something I'd be willing to get. Now, if I remember correctly, I think Houston ended up getting the second, and he's going to be in that range. So NBA draft lottery, right? Because it was the Detroit Pistons got number one. Was it the Detroit Pistons got number one? And then who got number two? Yeah, number two was Houston. So it might end up working out all right. Just something interesting. Just something to bring up. Harper and injuries. Name a more potent duo. Did Bryce Harper get injured again? Is there something I'm missing? Do we have a situation where Bryce Harper is injured again? I mean, he had a huge homer yesterday. A huge homer. That thing was murdered last night. So I don't know why we're bringing up injuries and Bryce Harper. I like your thinking, but Suggs, Green's in, I don't know. I know Green played in the G League, but I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I really don't know too much about Jalen Green. I did not watch a lot of the G League to watch him play, and that's a lot of the storylines between going to college basketball route, going the G League route. I'm not going to tell you I know a bunch about what type of star. I know he's a big-time player. I do know that, but I'm not watching many G League games to watch Jalen Green play. But, I'm just telling you about that mentality, the mentality of that with a draft pick and whatnot. Could that be something that you think about? How about Max Scherzer getting checked 3 times? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty embarrassing by the league, the way they did that. At the same time, they set themselves up for this. They did not properly assess what they were going to do when it came to this drama. They did not properly analyze how this was going to go down. And it's only going to get more foolish, right? It's only going to get sillier. This is only going to continue to happen. It's going to be pretty brutal. And we're going to watch it over and over again throughout the league as, the managers call out the players and the players get upset about it. And the players are going to have a good inning and then they're going to have to get checked. And, the league just didn't do a good job at properly assessing how this was going to go. They just threw it on everyone and said, let's see how this happens and let's see how this goes. And then classic Rob Manfred, classic Major League Baseball, it turned into one of the most dysfunctional looking things I've ever seen in my life, where Max Scherzer stripping on the field in the middle of an inning. I thought it was hilarious. I would have done the same damn thing if I was him. I would have done the same damn thing. The worry I fear is if we trade Ben for a 30-plus-year-old player, what if the player gets hurt? You could say that about any player. Why does it have to be 30-plus? What if any player gets injured? I mean, then you're just afraid for anything. Ben has been injured. Ben missed the playoffs last year for getting injured with a back injury. I mean, you can't just think that way. It's anybody. Like, that's my fear is Ben Simmons sucks and you're stuck with him. My fear is way scarier. My fear is way more intense that I'm stuck with Ben Simmons for the rest of my life watching that trash version of point guard basketball when you talk about the playoffs. That's scarier to me than anything related to whoever you trade for is going to be a problem. No, I don't listen to what's his name? Fuck. What's that clown's name? Bayless. What's his name? I don't even remember his first name. But no, I don't listen to that garbage. You think I listen to that? What is his first name again? I keep wanting to say Jared. Jared Bayless. What the? Oh, Skip. That's right. No, I don't listen to that trash. I have never in a million years said to myself, you know what I need to put on this morning? I need to put on Skip Bayless. Like, that's never happened in a million years in my brain. Now, credit to him. He's a rich motherfucker. He got paid a lot of money. He's got big time cash flow coming in. And there's people out there that do value him. I don't know why. But there's never in a million years in my life, and there will never be a time where I think to myself, I'm going to turn my TV on and put on Skip Bayless. And God bless anybody who does that. Crazy. Just crazy. But there are people out there who don't understand that that's a shtick, who don't understand how this works, but God bless. God bless. The problem is now with any sports media outlet in the mornings and all that, it's all trash. Get Up is bad. I thought that, originally I thought Get Up was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Then it became like, okay, it's not good, but it wasn't horrendous. Now it's back to just absolutely horrendous. And all the talking head shows are just silly. I mean, it's just silly. Since we're hitting the point guards, where's the interest in Damian Lillard? Number one. I don't think it's a reality. I don't know how you get a player like Damian Lillard. Those type of players have to demand out. They need to scream they want out of town. They hate it there. They despise it. You got to pull a James Harden. And I just don't think Damian Lillard's going to be doing that, even though he's clearly frustrated and they haven't been able to build properly around him. He's not that type of player that's going to pull the same type of strings that James Harden did. He's tied to the city. He's connected there, when it comes to off the court things that he does with that type of market. He is the Portland Trailblazer. So he's number one. He's number one. 1-1-1. Damian Lillard and Joel Embiid would talk about getting me excited in ways that I can't describe on YouTube. I'd be pretty damn excited if you catch my drift. That's where we're at. But I don't know if that's true. Do I believe the murmurs that Ben wants out of Philly? I didn't hear anything like that, but I mean, who wouldn't want out of Philly if you're Ben Simmons? The fan base hates you because of you, may I add. It's not like, this is what I hate. I had people, in the comments tweeting me, Brodes, our job is to root for him. Our job is to give him all the love and support. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. My job is not that. My job is to properly assess the basketball team. And when I properly assess the basketball team, I see an individual that causes this team issues more than he causes this team positive things, which is holding this organization back. So I want him gone. I'm not supposed to wait 10 years for Ben Simmons to grow. It's not my job to baby Ben Simmons. I feel this way, wait for it, not because of anything other than, wait for it, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons play. He dictates the way I feel. It's Ben Simmons' play that makes me feel this way. It's not me feeling this way for no reason. He sucked, therefore I want him gone. If he plays good, therefore I want him here, right? It's like, it's a cause and effect. Ben plays well, I want him here. Ben plays bad, I don't want him here. So what dictates the feel? It's not me. It's not my job to just wave pom-poms. It's all based on how he does. He controls the feelings. So it's really on him. Like, he controls my feelings. His play. His play. Carmen thinks that we give him more and love and support than he deserves anyway. Well, yeah, for a long period of time, and at some point we cracked. We cracked. But that's what happens when you pass up a dunk underneath the basket for Matisse Thybulle. The fan reaction to that moment is everything you need to know. I mean, that was right there. That was it. The reaction in the building of, oh, and then you can hear everyone start chattering and start talking as if, did he really just do that? Did he really just do that? That really just happened? You know, that's what it is. Savion asks, is it reasonable to say that because of Ben Simmons' flaws, Doc Rivers not coaching a good series is being swept under the rug? No, I don't think so. I think he's getting criticized. I think everyone's talking about how, his playoff record speaks for itself. He's got a long track record of losing in the playoffs. This is nothing new. What he did falls in that category. Now, it's like George Hill being out there for 20 minutes and giving you minus 15 and being horrendous is all a product of number 25. So while I think everyone recognizes that Doc Rivers and how bad he was is probably going to come back to bite you in the ass, even if you don't have a flaw like Ben Simmons. But Ben Simmons' flaw is so horrendous that, it's hard for that not to be the number one storyline. I think that's perfectly layered, though. Ben Simmons and that storyline is significantly more important than Doc Rivers. So I think it's perfectly structured in terms of the pyramid or the list or the order of how we're breaking this down. I think Doc Rivers is getting hit pretty good with how disturbing he was, for sure. I mean, he was garbage. He was absolutely garbage. Absolutely garbage. $35 coming in from Amanda Richardson. Thank you so much, Amanda. No comment with the donation, but the $35 coming in. Thank you so much, Amanda. I really appreciate the donation and all the support. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. No, it was not Philly for Life. No, it was not. Philly for Life claims that this is, to be fair, he says, this was his first true bad playoffs. No, it wasn't. We are having the same exact problems as what happened against the Celtics years ago, against the Toronto Raptors years ago. You got to look at it a little bit more. Ben Simmons stood in the dunker spot and did nothing every playoff run that he was available. Every playoff run, every single one. And the Sixers cannot operate in the half court because of that. This is not the first one. Go back, study the tape, watch Ben Simmons from 3 years ago to now. Every playoff run, Ben Simmons did nothing offensively when it mattered because he can't. So this is all more than just this year. It's all way more. He stood there and did nothing. Mullet petition for Alvarado, 200 yen. Don't make excuses. Make improvement. Absolutely. I don't really remember what that's in reference to, but that might be the Ben Simmons thing with the he's making me feel this way, I think. But thank you so much for the donation. I can't believe someone's saying this is his first bad playoff experience. Like, what have you watched? What playoffs did you watch? Have you been watching the Sixers? Yeah, agreed, Todd. Every series is a disaster. You had a couple moments. The Brooklyn Nets against Jared Dudley. Congratulations, Ben. Please. I mean, you should be able to do that against every player. What you did against Jared Dudley against the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, those type of series don't matter. I even said that in the beginning. Like, at the beginning of this playoff run, when I was screaming about Ben Simmons, who cares what he does against the Washington Wizards? He should be able to abuse the Washington Wizards. I even said, who cares about what happens in a series against the Atlanta Hawks? You should be able to abuse the Atlanta Hawks. And he couldn't even do that. So there's an element of, like he couldn't even do that. And that just shows you how deadly and how brutal it really is. Now, Martin sent me a donation yesterday, and he wanted me to read something that he sent to me on Instagram. So I'm going to read it out loud. He said, "Hey, Brodes, I really have been torn thinking about Ben trade all of a sudden. Since his trade value is so diminished, I don't see us getting anything good for him. I don't want it to be like Fultz trade where we get shit in return. Doc might actually want to keep him, and I think we have no choice. I think the fans will come around if he shoots. He will not shoot. I will add that in there myself. I hate feeling stupid, but we will feel worse if he starts balling. He won't start balling. That's inevitable. It's been 5 seasons. I know you're cringing at this. Yes, I am. But what are the odds he doesn't change? 100%. It's like a gun is to his head, and trust me, I want to slap this dude in his face like everyone else, but fuck, maybe it has to happen this next year. Now, we're done. We're done with Ben Simmons. Done with Ben Simmons. Will not shoot. This whole convincing ourselves that he'll change, this is the breaking point. He has been like this is nothing new for Ben Simmons. Ben, maybe you should try shooting a basketball. Ben has to shoot. Ben has to shoot. Shaq saying Ben has to shoot. Kenny saying Ben has to shoot. This whole city saying Ben has to shoot. Ben has to shoot. Ben has to shoot. Ben has to shoot. It's been 5 years. 5 fucking years. And now all of a sudden it's, oh, you know what? Maybe, if he's Ben Simmons, maybe I should shoot. Like, it's just not what it is. It's not what it is. He doesn't shoot. Arm Zebra asks if there's open ice hits. Kevin Durso is on vacation for the week, so I think our plan is for Friday. I was going to do a solo one. I just got so tied up. So Durso's on vacation, so we're kind of resurface here at the back end of the week just to throw that quickly in there. Amanda asked, do I think that Simmons is afraid to shoot because he might get fouled and he can't hit his free throws, or simply afraid to shoot? I think he's simply afraid to shoot. You know, this narrative that if he shoots his free throws, the rest of his game will open up. Wrong. It's wrong. Ben Simmons just getting better at free throws, going from 34% to maybe 60, 65. Ben Simmons has worked on his free throws in an empty gym all the time. Ben Simmons has worked on his free throws. It doesn't work. It doesn't correlate. Doing things in empty gyms does not correlate to doing things with the NBA spotlight on in a high-pressured situation. He's worked with Sam Cassell every day. How much more work is he going to do? He doesn't have shooter's touch. He doesn't know how to flow the basketball off of his fingertips. None of that matters. And by the way, just getting better at free throws doesn't change the fact that in a half-court set, if you can't shoot a basketball, which isn't going to magically happen if he just becomes a good free throw shooter, you can't stand in the dunker spot and play 4-on-5 and playoff basketball. It's never going to happen. And until people admit that, well, then you're just going to say, what if, for the rest of your life. Maybe it's next year. He's going to be 47 years old, and someone's going to say, maybe next year. Maybe he'll shoot next year at 49. At 24, he can. Wait, what? Dude, it's been 5 years. Like, this is what I'm trying to understand. It's been 5 years and no improvement. So at what point is it he's not going to get better? He's not going to change. It's not it's mental. It's mental. It's a mental block. It's a lot different than just being a player that isn't a good three-point shooter or isn't a good mid-range jumper guy. Okay, it's more than that. It's a mental block that he cannot get over. So it's not that it's like, oh, well, he can't improve. Like, it's a mental thing. It's a thing where he will not change. This is silly. Like, you're dumb if you believe that a player after 5 years is magically just somehow all of a sudden, because the first 5 years, wasn't enough of a sample size, he's just automatically going to change. It's like, do you watch the NBA? Do you see how many stars have gotten better? Do you watch Donovan Mitchell? Do you watch these players play? Do you watch Devin Booker? Do you watch Joel Embiid? Yet Ben said, we need more time. We need more time. Like, shut up. There's no more time. It's been long enough. It's been so long. So long. You'll be waiting till you're 75 for Ben Simmons to improve. He is what he is. I am what I am. He told you that himself. Oh, yeah, 3 years. Let me wait till he's fucking 29 at this point to gain 1%. Get the fuck out of here. You keep waiting. I'm done with this trash. Simmons is 6'10". What about a position change? What player can succeed next to Joel Embiid that can't shoot? Now we're putting a power forward next to him. The only thing Ben Simmons can do well is have the ball in his hands in transition. So now we're putting him at power forward. It'll never work. You have to space the floor. The problem with Ben is no spacing. Tobias Harris at the 4 spaces the floor. You have to give Joel Embiid room to operate. Now we're packing it even more in. You have to shoot. You have to be able to shoot. He cannot shoot. Putting him off the ball is terrible. Terrible. Can't do it. Well, unfortunately, in Surge, I don't like talking about Ben Simmons this much either, but this is what happens when this is what it is. I mean, you lose a playoff series because of a historic failure, and it's 2 days after. I guess this is the 3rd day after. This is what it is. I mean, it's not our fault. This is what it is. I don't know what his value is, Chris. Unfortunately, I don't. There's going to be teams willing to take a chance. Teams are probably going to be willing to take a chance. You don't get James Harden value anymore. You don't get Damian Lillard value anymore. You don't get those type of those type of talent anymore. So I don't know what it is. I really don't. Maxey isn't a starter. I thought Daryl Morey mentioned something about him being a young player that's pushing veterans and he could be a big part to the bench and whatnot. So there is an element of that, but yeah, I mean, he's eventually going to be a starter. I just don't think on a legitimate playoff championship caliber team, a 20-year-old guy runs the point guard position. So what if I come from the future and say, give Ben 2 years? What city is he in? Because it's not here in Philly. That's my response. I don't understand what you think is going to happen. The guy has showed you everything. I'm trying to get into your brain. Because there's clearly a huge disconnect. 5 years into his NBA career, he doesn't do something. Yet all of a sudden, he's going to start doing it. I mean, what are you smoking? Do you do crack? $10 coming in from Darius. The Sixers babied Ben Simmons. There's a story out that Brett Brown getting mad at the process guys who were hungry and dogs because they wouldn't let Ben cross half court in practice. What? I didn't see any story about Brett Brown getting mad at the process guys who were hungry and dogs. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know what process guys were hungry and dogs. Like TJ McConnell, does that classify as, if that's what you classify as hungry and dogs? Okay. I mean, you didn't really have a hungry dogs in the process years. And don't tell me Robert Covington stinks. But they wouldn't let Ben cross half court in practice. I don't know. I mean, the Sixers babying Ben Simmons is definitely a thing. The organization has babied him. His family has babied him. There's been a lot of people that have babied him. So I do agree with the assessment in general that has happened. There is definitely an element to that. Thank you, Darius, for the $10. It took Jordan 7 years to get it right. Go back and watch Michael Jordan for his first years and then go back and watch Ben Simmons. I don't even know how you could try and compare those two. The fact that that's where you're at is laughable. Go back and watch the way that Michael Jordan lost. Were there bad playoff losses to the bad boy Pistons? Absolutely. There's a difference between learning as a young player and growing and developing and taking a step each year and this. This is nowhere even close to, I'm learning from these experiences. I'm growing as a player. This is a mental block that won't change. This is a 24-year mental block of a basketball problem that's never going to change. How you think that's the same as Kevin Durant not winning until a certain age, LeBron not winning until a certain age, Michael Jordan not winning until a certain age, Kawhi Leonard not winning until a certain age. Watch Kawhi Leonard early. Watch Kawhi Leonard 5 years in. Watch the change. Watch the growth. Watch Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons has declined in every area. You're 24. Okay. You're going to be saying the same thing. Like, you're just uneducated, John. You're uneducated. 24 years old. Yeah, I get it. Growth is what is big in sports. Let me know from 19 to 24 where this man in 5 seasons has grown for me to sit here today and go, well, at least I see X. I see Y. I see how he's taking strides in that 5-year window for me to now think that there's going to be improvement from 24, 25, 26, 27. And here's the thing, John. I don't give a fuck what happens in 82 regular season games because they don't mean dick. They don't mean fucking squat. That doesn't mean fucking shit to me because Ben Simmons will be nothing but a regular season transition basketball player. The playoffs are not transition basketball. So I don't give a monster fucking shit about what happens in October, November, December, January against teams that blow because it doesn't mean fucking shit. So let me know, John, where I need to watch Ben Simmons over the last 5 years to tell me that something's going to be better in his game. It's a joke. I mean, you're just an absolute joke. Joke. Simmons has grown court vision. Oh. Yeah, because I saw, you know what I saw in the playoffs? His court vision. Standing there in the dunker spot looking around. I saw vision all right, watching the game from the dunker spot. You call that court vision? Jesus Christ. I call that loser. I call that a loser. A loser mentality. Not wanting to play the sport of basketball. Being a fraud. That's the only vision I saw out of Ben Simmons. Watching the game from the dunker spot. Oh, yeah, this is great. I got the best seats in the house. I'd have to spend $300 like the clowns up top who's shit-faced. I wish I could get fucking shit-faced. That's what Ben Simmons is thinking about. And his defense is irrelevant because you can't play on the offensive side of the basketball where your coach has to take you out. You get paid $30 million and you need to sit there and get yanked because you blow. So get the fuck out of here with this nonsense about court vision. Joke. You know what? You're done. You're out of here. See you later. I'm done with you. Darius, $5. Dogs as in they were fighting to be in the league. Fair. I heard the story on 97.5. Not sure the validity of it myself. That's fair. No, I understand. But yeah, I think that there's an element of them babying. I mean, there is an element of them babying. I know, like, Ron Weitzman, who wrote, like, he wrote a book about them tanking. He went into a pretty interesting, in-depth story about the Sixers. He wrote the book Tanking to the Top, the Philadelphia 76ers and their most audacious process in the history of professional sports. He wrote a piece here that says, name me one area where Ben Simmons has improved. Former 76ers Jim O'Brien asked his colleagues. The room fell silent. New story for Fox Sports. How Ben Simmons forgot how to shoot and the process on how he lost his way. So I want to read that piece. It's a very interesting piece. You're on Weitzman on Twitter. I will definitely be reading that story for sure. It's pretty crazy. You know, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, just wild. Wow, that we are where we are today, you know? Thank you so much, Darius, for the $5. Brando, I like you too, man. I like you too. Bucks and 6? You're going 6? Yeah, I mean, I think it's more like 5, but 200 yen comes in. Can you imagine what AI was thinking game 5? Could you imagine what AI was thinking with Ben Simmons that entire series? Crazy. Just crazy. Just absolutely crazy. John says, talk about Ben not allowed to play. It's not allowed to play. He's choosing not to play, which I look at it as a scenario where he can probably maybe use it to shoot the basketball, but he's not going to shoot the basketball. I almost look at it as an opportunity. The thing here from Brian Windhorst says, Ben Simmons is doubtful to play for Australia in Tokyo, sources said. Will spend the offseason working on skill development. Yeah, okay. You can work all you want. Ben Simmons has worked. Ben Simmons has taken threes in empty courts. He's been taking threes in pickup games. He's been doing this. He's been doing that. He's been doing everything we need him to do. There is a mental hurdle when things go big, when the lights get bright, that he doesn't do. And there's no changing the trigger. There is a trigger, and that's not going to change. That's the problem. That's the problem. Whew. All right. That's where we're at. I think the same thing, Evan. He's not that guy. He's not that guy. I think the same thing. That whoever sent me that on Twitter when I first tweeted out the whole Ben Simmons sucks thing, I thought that was perfect execution. Literally unbelievable. Unbelievable. Carmen thinks Ben Simmons is scared to play. Working on his game is BS. He won't do it. I think he's done it. I do. I think he's taken shots. I think him and Sam Cassell working on his free throws. All that stuff did happen. It's not like it didn't happen. He worked with Sam Cassell all season long. The problem is there's a trigger. And the trigger is being on the court with fans, playing an NBA game. When the game matters and when the game is on the line, that's when he shrinks. And there's a trigger involved. And I don't know how you get around that. You just can't. You cannot get around that. So I want to thank everyone so much for hanging out with me today here on Coffee with Brodes. Thank you so much. You are all the best. We lost our mind earlier. That's what happens. The name Ben Simmons comes up, and you end up getting annihilated with a lot of frustration. That's reality of the situation. He frustrates me. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.